So in this video, we're going to be discussing Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, and a little background on the film. Nausicaa is princess of this little sector of the Valley of the Wind. It's been several years since there was a great war that brought the world to an end in a way. The war caused a toxic force to spread throughout Earth, and humanity's on the brink with in the film that we can see three different groups of individual civilizations, the Valley of the Wind being one of them, and the other two groups being at war against each other. And Nausicaa is trying to bring peace to this while protecting her home and from both the warring nations and the creatures, the Ohms that are in the toxic forest. So it's a little bit of a hero story, a Miyazaki film, the first Miyazaki film. And one of the things that we can see within the movie is Weisinger's talked about reconciliation with God. Well, in this sense, God can be seen as nature within the world of Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, because humans are at odds with nature, but at the same time, within the toxic forest, the nature is trying to repair itself, trying to clean the air, clean the environment. So by humans further aggressing against nature, one, they're destroying the very resource that will clean the planet, and two, they incur the wrath of the Ohms, which, for the purpose of this talk, we can see the Ohms as sort of the representative of the gods, the representative of the forest, because they're the big giant creatures that usually go attack the humans when they mess with nature. So that. And one of the goals that Nausicaa has towards the end of the film is reconciling, trying to convince the humans, no, burning down the forest, destroying this, it's wrong, it's not the way to go about it, it'll just lead to suffering and whatnot, and you need to reconcile with it, along with trying to protect her home after one of the factions tries to use the Ohms to destroy the warring faction, which took residence in her Valley of the Wind. And towards the end, when she's trying to save a baby Ohm, the reason the Ohms are trying to destroy the Valley of the Wind, they're stampeding, when she goes to try and save them and she gets run over, we see her in a death-like state. We see her end. We see the death of the hero, the death of the king, the death of the god, if you will. But then they go through the rebirth. So right here we have our religious ritual to death and rebirth of Nausicaa, as she's healed from near death by the Ohms. And through this we have the reconciliation of nature and humans. The Ohms stop their rampaging, they leave the humans in peace. The humans realize that messing with the Ohms and messing with nature is not the best idea, that they should try to cooperate with it. And then later on, we not find out, because it was told in the beginning of the film, but we get the confirmation that Nausicaa is the prophesied savior of the world, with the prophet saying that a savior in blue robes descending on a golden field would bring peace and balance to the world. And this can be seen with Nausicaa with her blue robes, and the golden field being the healing tentacles of the Ohm. So we see this religious prophecy come true. Now, and we see the common themes of Miyazaki throughout the film, along with nature, the core argument of how can we live with the toxic forest, how can we live with the Ohms, the pacifism with Nausicaa trying to get these two warring factions to stop, because they're hurting everyone around them. It's leading to Nausicaa's destruction. She's trying to stop the work between them. And of course, this theme of feminism, with Nausicaa actually the main protagonist, the hero, the heroine of the film. She goes out and she departs from her home. She figures out how the toxic forest is healing itself. She discovers this, and then after seeing what the warring nations does, she returns to her place and saves everyone with her knowledge. And of course, the morally ambiguous villains. The villains, of course, being the warring factions. But when you see it from their point of view, there are no completely evil villains within Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. We just have different factions. Uh, the first Warren faction that takes over the Valley of the Wind kills Nausicaa's father. They just need it as a strategic location because they're at war with the other faction. And when the other faction sends the Ohms to rampage on the Valley of the Wind to take out the first faction, these can be seen as evil acts, but from their point of view, they're just trying to win a war against an opposing faction that they see as truly evil and will bring about the destruction of the world. That's just two warring viewpoints, not necessarily evil, very questionable methods, but not pure evil, trying to take over the world, being evil for evil's sake.